Picture this. I'm finally selling my house. The papers are almost signed. The moving truck is practically booked, and I'm dreaming of my new life. Everything is going perfectly. That is, until Karen next door decides to get involved. Now, Karen wasn't just any neighbor. She was the queen of petty complaints, the master of passive-aggressive notes, and the president of the Homeowners Association that only existed in her head. For years, she'd been a thorn in my side. She'd complain if my grass was a millimeter too long, if I had guests over past 9 p.m., or if the delivery guy parked in front of her house for 30 seconds. Living next to her was like walking on eggshells. But I was so close to freedom. The day before closing, I get a frantic call from my real estate agent. The sale is on hold. My heart sinks. What happened? I ask, my voice trembling. He tells me there's a lien on my property. A lien? For what? I've always paid my bills. My mortgage is in good standing. It made no sense. He sends over the paperwork, and my blood runs cold. The lien was filed by none other than Karen. It claimed I owed her $20,000 for property damage and emotional distress. The property damage, a small scratch on her fence that I had offered to fix a year ago, which she dramatically refused, saying she'd handle it. The emotional distress. Apparently, my loud lifestyle had caused her irreparable psychological harm. It was completely absurd. I was furious, but also terrified. This could kill the sale. My buyers wouldn't wait forever, and fighting a lien in court could take months, even years. I immediately called Karen, trying to be calm and rational. Karen, I said, what is this? We both know this is completely fabricated. Her response was smug, dripping with fake sympathy. Oh, dear, she cooed. I'm just protecting my assets. You've been such a disruptive presence. I had to take action. She then had the audacity to suggest that if I paid her $10,000 in cash, she might be willing to reconsider the lien. It was blatant extortion. I hung up, shaking with rage. She had me backed into a corner, and she knew it. I felt hopeless. I sat on my floor, surrounded by half-packed boxers, on the verge of tears. My dream was crumbling because of this one malicious person. I called my brother, Mark, to vent. Now, my brother Mark isn't just my big brother. He's also a sheriff in the next county over. He's seen it all, and he has a very low tolerance for nonsense. I explained the whole situation, from the scratch on the fence to her extortion attempt. He listened patiently, and when I was done, there was a long pause on the line. Then he said, in a very calm, very serious voice, that sounds like filing a fraudulent document and attempted extortion. That's a felony, you know. A little spark of hope ignited in my chest. Really? I asked. Absolutely, he said. Fax me everything you have. The lien document, your agent's emails, any texts or notes from her. I'm going to make a few calls. Suddenly, the tables started to turn. Mark wasn't just my big brother anymore. He was Sheriff Mark, and he was on the case. He explained that while he couldn't personally investigate in my jurisdiction, he knew exactly who to talk to. He had friends in the local sheriff's department and the district attorney's office. He told me to sit tight and not contact Karen again. The next 2 days were the longest of my life. My agent was calling. The buyers were getting antsy, and I was a nervous wreck. I kept picturing Karen laughing, counting the money she was going to squeeze out of me. Then, on Wednesday afternoon, I saw it. 2 police cars pulled up quietly in front of Karen's house. I peeked through my blinds, my heart pounding in my chest. 2 uniformed officers walked up to her door and knocked. Karen opened it, a look of confusion on her face. They spoke for a moment, and I saw her smug expression dissolve into shock, then fear. They put her in handcuffs. Handcuffs. I watched, completely stunned, as they led her to one of the patrol cars. She was yelling, protesting her innocence, claiming it was all a misunderstanding. But they just calmly put her in the back of the car and drove away. My phone rang a minute later. It was Mark. So, he said, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the smile in his voice. I hear your neighborhood is a little quieter this afternoon. He explained that his contacts had moved fast. The evidence was overwhelming. The lien was so poorly faked and my testimony about her extortion attempt was the final nail in the coffin. She was arrested for filing a fraudulent instrument and attempted theft by extortion. With Karen out of the picture, things moved quickly. The fraudulent lien was expunged from my property record within 24 hours. I called my agent, who was absolutely floored, but thrilled. He immediately contacted the buyers and explained the situation. Far from being scared off, they were actually impressed. They thought it was a wild story and were just happy the sale could proceed. We closed the very next day, without a single hitch. As I drove away from my old house for the last time, I glanced at Karen's place. Her car was gone. The house was dark, and a profound sense of peace washed over me. The fallout for Karen was significant. She had to post bail, and the legal fees started piling up. The homeowners in the neighborhood, who had all suffered from her reign of terror in silence, started sharing their own stories. Turns out, I wasn't her only victim. She had a history of this kind of behavior. Her reputation was completely destroyed. The best part, her legal troubles meant she had to sell her own house to cover the costs. I heard from an old neighbor that she ended up pleading guilty to a lesser charge, but still had a criminal record and a hefty fine. She tried to play a dirty game, but she picked the wrong person to mess with. She didn't just have a neighbor, she had a neighbor with a sheriff for a brother. Sometimes, justice is served, and let me tell you, it is incredibly sweet. Thanks for listening to my story, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more.